Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to the Burlington Chamber of Commerce very first virtual Mayor State of the City Address presented by Cogeco. This morning, we have over 150 of you tune in to watch the event. Before we begin today, I would like to acknowledge the land we are on. Burlington, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinabeg to the Haudenosaunee and the Métis, our lands spanning from Lake Ontario to the Niagara Escarpment are steeped in Indigenous history. The territory is mutually covered by the Dish, with one spoon wampum belt covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy, the Ojibwe, and other allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of Credit. In addition to our presenting sponsor, Cogeco, I do get the privilege to welcome our sponsors who are here with us today. Our platinum sponsors, Bell Canada, CNREL, Realtors Association, Hamilton, Burlington. Our gold sponsors, TD Canada Trust, Imperial. Our silver sponsor, Burlington Hydro. Our media partner, Your TV. Thank you all to all our sponsors. Your investment and partnership in events such as this are great alignment with our brand and help the Chamber deliver these quality events to our memberships. It is my pleasure to welcome Donna Basher today, 2021 President of the Realtors Association, Hamilton, Burlington, to say a few words.
Thank you, Maud, for that warm welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Make sure. Good morning, everyone. As the 2021 President of the Realtors Association of Hamilton, Burlington, I'm so honored to be here virtually with all of you at the Mayor's State of the City Address today. We're very pleased to sponsor this event along with so many valued partners and to receive an update from our mayor on all things Burlington. Burlington has always been a sought-after community, and in 2019, we saw Burlington named the #1 community in which to live. Along with Burlington's exceptional community status, we are also seeing the value of homes in Burlington continue to grow. We just received our 2020 statistics from our National Association Korea, and I'm happy to report that Burlington's average residential price was $878,372, an increase of 16.3% from 2019. This really shouldn't come as a surprise, as Burlington's beautiful landscape, variety of properties, and vibrant social scene, so it's easy to understand why there's such a demand to live, work, and play in Burlington. Burlington's employment base is expected to substantially increase by 2031. This, combined with Burlington's proximity to Niagara, Toronto, and the Innovation Corridor, makes Burlington an ideal location to establish a successful business. I ask all of you, if you're interested in selling or buying a home or commercial property in Burlington, that you work with a RAB member. Not all realtors are RAB members. RAB members know the history, communities, trends, and have access to tools that are necessary to ensure that your individual real estate needs are being met. I'm thrilled to let you know that last week, on January 26th, RAB turned 100 years old. It's an incredible milestone, and RAB will continue helping our communities grow by empowering our realtors to succeed. And I think that we can all speak for our RAB members and everyone here today that we would never have predicted our lives would change so drastically in a year. However, you can rest assured that RAB members will continue to work diligently to keep both buyers and sellers safe during this pandemic, just like our mayor and council have been doing on their side. It's imperative that Mayor Marianne Mead Ward remains committed to the platform she was elected on, creating an environment of respectful debate and open dialogue with the community and at City Hall, supporting reasonable growth in the places and scale that make sense for Burlington's community vision, making it easier to do business and grow here in Burlington, and making decisions that support inclusivity, fiscal responsibility, and our environment. I know there's a lot to look back on in 2020, as well as great things ahead. So I'll invite Mayor Mead Ward to the digital stage to fill her in yourself. So if we can have some virtual applause for Mayor Marianne Mead Ward.
Well, thank you so much for that. I'm delighted to be here with all of you this morning in this virtual space. I know things are different this year, but I'm just so delighted that we can still come together and provide an update. I look forward to your questions, and of course, the rapid fire session is always a lot of fun. So I'm going to focus today on what we did in 2020 and what is coming in 2021. And I think when you see the recap, you will be as impressed and inspired as I am by what we've been able to accomplish together. Before I get started, I would like to offer some thank yous and some acknowledgements. I'd like to thank the leadership team at the Chamber of Commerce for making this event possible. I'm grateful for the Chamber's contributions to the community throughout this pandemic. It's been a great partnership. And I want to thank you, all the sponsors, for today and making today possible. We couldn't do it without all of you. Excuse me. And I'm happy to have our city manager, Tim Camiso, and members of City Council here, along with members of the senior leadership team. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to all our partners, agencies, boards, commissions, and of course, all of you out there. Really appreciate you being here, and let's get started. I want to talk about three things as we look back on 2020: protecting and partnering, adapting and inspiring. And I'm just going to pause there for a moment and see if we can wait for the slides to catch up. Not sure if we're having a technical glitch. I brought my Keep Calm and Carry On mug this morning. So I'm just going to continue, and the slides will catch up when they catch up. There we go. We're on going into slide 4, actually. To my slide, folks. Our first theme is protect and partner. So we learned with COVID-19 that the learning curve was steep and immediate for every government agency, health, business, community around the globe. Burlington responded quickly, and we all came together as partners, every sector: business, government, social services, volunteer, and of course, the people. We declared a state of emergency in March. It seems like a decade ago. And we made sure that we connected regularly with our community to give them information about what to expect and what was expected. We had over 350,000 visits to my communications blog. We had 6 telephone town halls with thousands of people on them every time. We had an increase in engagement of 265% in 2019. We had our expert panelists join us on the town halls. Immediately, I formed a COVID-19 task force, bringing together business, social services, volunteer organizations, and city staff to work together with our community. I was joined in that by two of my council colleagues, Councillor Kearns and Councillor Bentavania. The task force met 16 times between March and December, and we identified challenges in food scarcity, logistics, business supports, and beyond, and we worked together to solve these problems where needed. I know that these relationships that we've built, these connections, will outlast COVID, and it's one of the silver linings coming out of this. The second theme I want to talk about is adapt. And we have certainly shown how resilient we are as a community. We came together quickly as we dealt with the first wave and now into the second wave. We figured out how to work together remotely. We became experts in Zoom calls and learning how to unmute. We bought our first masks and learned that a hockey stick is about 6 feet. We ventured out for essential services and washed our groceries for the first time. And we had to add new words to our lexicon. Words like social bubbles, COVIDiot, and physical distancing. And we learned how to really wash our hands and stop touching our face. We found new ways to deliver the same services at the city as we continue the business of the city throughout the pandemic. We held committee and council meetings virtually and found ways to host public meetings on proposed developments. Our first up at bat for that was Millcroft Greens development in Councillor Bentavania's ward, and we had over 700 people join us on that very first one. Our frontline services, such as transit, roads, parks, maintenance, fire, and bylaw enforcement, introduced additional precautions and personal protective equipment to ensure staff and the community remain safe. We had to suspend many of our recreational programs in person, but our staff quickly pivoted to a virtual model to make sure that we could stay connected. The impact on Burlington's budget in areas such as lost transit revenue and reduced recreation fees at the end of last year was $18.5 million. That was offset by more than 50% in cost savings through immediate action, our expenditure restraint program, as well as savings in fuel and winter maintenance, knock on wood, so far. City and Regional Council, along with our partners at the Ontario Big City Mayors Group, successfully advocated with our provincial and federal governments to provide much needed financial relief. And that helped us in our shortfall. As a result of advocacy and many hours of work by our staff filling out applications, we received $15.6 million from senior levels of government for phase 1 and phase 2 of the Safe Restart funding agreement. We are very pleased with our partners, and we know that our MPs and our MPPs locally advocated for us. We still have a shortfall heading into 2021, which I'll talk about how we're going to deal with later in the presentation. And we continued to partner with all of our partners at other levels of government and agencies to bring Burlington's voice to every table. From my work at the Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus to Councillor Nissan's work as our representative on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board, from my seat at the table of Large Urban Caucus at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario as a board member, we have continued to bring Burlington's voice to those tables for advocacy. We control what we can, and areas that are outside our jurisdiction, we don't throw up our hands, we advocate and use our voices to ask for what our community needs. Businesses also adapted. Our business support organizations together took action. Team Burlington, our Burlington Economic Development, the Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Burlington, and our 2 BIAs, Downtown and Aldershot, came together to make sure that businesses had access, easy access to all of the information about programs that were available to them. Those groups, together with the community, formed the Burlington Economic Recovery Network, on which myself and Councillor Galbraith sit. Council advocated for funding to support local businesses and approved $225,000 in grant programs. And our Digital Main Street program has helped over 153 local businesses through the Safe Restart Grant, and Digital Main Street 130 local businesses, strengthening their ability to transfer their service to an online platform. The city also partnered with the Burlington Restaurant Association, who were members of my COVID-19 task force and responded to the need for patios throughout the spring and summer. And we're now working on making sure that those that want patios in the winter can do so safely in a compliant way. And we provided a grant program so it wouldn't cost folks. We will continue to partner with Team Burlington and our business organizations to identify areas of advocacy and support as we move forward. We also saw many businesses struggle this year, and some of our most favorite and cherished spots closed. But we also saw incredible innovation and creativity as businesses learned to pivot and adapt. Restaurants focused on takeout and delivery. Salons provided takeout kits to dye your own hair and special packages. Fitness providers started offering online classes. I was constantly moved by how businesses adapted and changed during the shutdown and to find ways to keep themselves and their employees safe. We also saw that women were particularly hard hit during the pandemic, taking on a high percentage of responsibilities at home, and of course now during kids being home from school, taking on a lot of the teaching responsibilities. This pandemic has been described by some as a she-cession because of its unequal impact on women. But women are also part of what is contributing to the economic recovery. We call it the she-covery. Businesses that have started during a pandemic, which is just so inspiring in and of itself. Hugh La La, Park Market and Refillery, The Market by the Platter Company, Grounded Pilates, The Vegan Pantry, Bubbles and Blow are just a few of the new businesses that started and are run by women. We saw businesses like Babaz, branded Burlington, and North Cole expand into new locations, and favorite shops like Joelle and Jeff Sky Shop creating amazing online stores complemented by curbside pickup. We saw new businesses like the Food Villa, Aldershot Foot Clinic, New Street Media, and Scholars Education Center open up. And overall, we gained as many new businesses as we lost in one of the most challenging economic times of our lifetime. Just shows our community's extraordinary resilience and perseverance in the face of extraordinary circumstances. We also showed that we are open for business here in Burlington. Throughout 2020, the city continued to make progress on our official plan, which was approved by Halton Region on November 30th, 2020. The city is now working closely with the region through their official plan review process to explore removing the major transit station area designation downtown and shifting the boundaries for the downtown urban growth center to more closely align to the Burlington GO station. We know the bulk of new growth for certainly residential and to some extent business will be at our GO stations to make use of investments that the provincial government has made in transit. Just to give you a picture of what is happening, the construction value of residential and commercial buildings permits approved in 2020 was over $370 million. In 2020, over 680 building permits were issued for non-residential development, totaling over 124,000 square meters of floor space. And that will continue to help our businesses and the economy. Businesses are choosing Burlington as a great place to do business. Also in 2020, building permits that were issued will result in over 670 units that will contribute to the city's housing strategy. We have over 93 active major planning applications in various stages of review as of January 2021, totaling over 4,000 residential units. And you'll see them, just a few of those plotted in the graph on the top left there. We continue to be open for business and directing growth where it should go. We also announced a partnership with Brock University, who has decided to relocate its current Hamilton campus to Burlington to better serve their students and the broader community. And we're thrilled to see this expansion of post-secondary. In October 2020, Council supported the establishment of a Burlington Lands Partnership, a new organizational structure that will oversee the strategic lands management function at the city. The Burlington Land Partnership represents a transitional approach that allows for the expansion of organizational capacity and expertise to enable consideration of council for potential down the road formalization of a municipal development corporation to take advantage of land acquisition to advance the vision and goals that the city has. We're driven by the 10-year economic vision for the city and a 25-year strategic plan. And our goals are to maximize business development opportunities, to support economic growth and job creation, implement city building projects and initiatives that enhance the quality of life of citizens, and leverage opportunities to deliver affordable housing. And in all of those endeavors, we are guided by a new person around the team table, and that is Mark Simeone, our new Director of Planning, who starts today. So if you see Mark today, send him a line and welcome him to the team at the City of Burlington. A global pandemic didn't stop our growth and evolution as a community, and our commitment to increasing diversity and inclusion only grew throughout 2020. These issues continued to dominate our consciousness as we saw how COVID-19 has affected different people in different communities in different ways. You've heard me say this before, that we're all in the same storm, COVID-19, but we're not all in the same boat. Some of us have fine ships that we're in, and some of us are in leaky rowboats about to go underwater. And what has been so inspiring, and we'll come to this, is how the community has pulled together to make sure everybody had a decent boat. We saw the Black Lives Matter movement gain global attention after the killing of a Black man, George Floyd, by police in the United States. And our residents came out in the thousands to march for justice against racism here and around the world. We had a temporary art installation by a local artist shortly after that in front of City Hall. And the city supported a temporary art installation called The Promenade of Pain in Spencer Smith Park. That was hosted by a local artist, Amber Ruthart, from the First Nations White Bear Clan. She's a 60s scoop survivor and performance artist. The Red Dress project was created by a multidisciplinary artist, Jamie Black, and has been installed in public spaces throughout Canada and the United States. The dresses, and you can see them on your screen, represent the hundreds, perhaps thousands of North American Indigenous women and girls who have been murdered or disappeared during the past 4 decades. We also launched our first Rainbow Crosswalk together this past summer and had a virtual Pride flag raising for Pride Month in June. And with the support of Burlington's own Accessibility Advisory Committee and our Inclusivity Advisory Committee, Council signed the Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable Charter. It's an explicit declaration of commitment to the values of equity, diversity, and inclusion, which also lists commitments to the guiding principles. And there's lots more to come that I look forward to sharing with you soon. The third theme I'd like to touch on is inspire. We started being inspired by the frontline porch clap, started by a local resident every Friday, coming out, clapping our hands, banging pots to acknowledge and show our appreciation of frontline workers. And then stories poured in across the city of ways that people were finding ways to inspire each other and spread love and joy throughout COVID-19. Building gardens and chalk murals, singing to one another, painting rocks, and so much more. So we created a wall of inspiration at mariannemeadward.ca. You can go there right from the homepage and see all of the stories, and there's more that come in every week. Habitat for Humanity completed their 18 affordable housing homes and are now occupied at Crew Getz Landing on Queensway. We had seniors exercise equipment opened at Burloak Park thanks to local fundraising efforts by our Burlington seniors community. And these stories are unlimited. These are just the ones we know about, and we know there are so many amazing things happening in the community. We also gave out keys to the city to several of our amazing residents. We gave it to Gordon Shotlander, a local D-Day veteran. I was able to do that one in person in January of last year on his 95th birthday, and he's still going strong. Local business owner Ian Elliott, who keeps literature alive and well at a Different Drummer Books, and to Aldershot's own young women's hockey superstar, Kendall Cooper. There are so many amazing people in our community, and I'm proud that we were able to acknowledge 3 more. I also wanted to take an opportunity to let you know what inspires and gets our council members up in the morning through COVID. Councillor Kelvin Galbraith of Ward 1 noted that the future of meetings has changed forever. He gets to bring his young'un with him to Zoom calls. And no longer do we need to waste as much time or energy on gas, emissions, wear and tear of our cars, just to meet in person when virtual technology is present. He saw this as the greatest carbon reducing measure of the pandemic. And in the year ahead, one of Kelvin's focus areas will be on helping as many business owners as he can to rebound from the losses sustained during the pandemic. And he's been such a great voice for business over the last year. Councillor Lisa Kearns of Ward 2 told me she found so much value in the ability to engage the community in a new virtual way that can still be used when we return to the places and activities that we love. In 2021, she's most excited to usher in the development policies of the new official plan that puts resident and businesses first. Ward 3 Councillor Rory Nissan said the biggest silver lining was the strength of Burlington as a community. And he's seen how neighbors have come together to support one another and believes that those social bonds will stay with us. And I absolutely agree with that. He's also looking forward to accomplishing an effective vaccine rollout for Burlington and Halton so we can get back to making the most of the best place to live in Canada. Ward 4 Councillor Shauna Stolde told me how she appreciates the opportunity to support the creation of new neighborhood groups in Ward 4 during the pandemic. She's seen firsthand how residents have come together in unprecedented ways to support each other through this challenging time. And it's truly reflected the message that we are stronger together. Moving into 21, she's most looking forward to working with residents to explore creative, innovative, affordable housing solutions now that the work on Burlington's inaugural housing strategy is about to commence. Ward 5, Councillor Paul Sharman echoed seeing the benefits in using technology that's been sitting on the shelf for a number of years. It allows people to do so many things from home without burning gas or taking unnecessary shopping trips. And he looks forward to hanging out with family, friends, and colleagues without fear of becoming unwell or making others sick in the year ahead. I think we're all looking forward to being together again. And finally, Angelo Bentavania, our Ward 6 councillor, saw firsthand the incredible cooperation from our hardworking city staff during this pandemic with respect to quick responses, timely phone calls, virtual meetings, resulting in positive and productive results for our community. And in the year ahead, he's excited to work with the city, the region, and upper levels of government to make significant progress in providing reliable broadband in rural Burlington. Finally, our city manager, Tim Camiso, has a lot of gratitude to send out to our city teams, and I'd add my voice and that of council in our thanks for how they adapted and constantly flexed to changing circumstances. closing and then reopening parks and recreation programs at a moment's notice, implementing safety procedures on our buses and at golf courses, inside community centers and City Hall, working tirelessly to maintain our commitment to keeping our city moving and our community safe. In 2021, he looks forward to providing leadership in two major areas. First, to work closely with council and staff to do whatever the city can to protect the community from the COVID-19 pandemic. Adapting city services as needed and doing everything we can to support local business. Second, continuing to deliver for the citizens of Burlington high quality public services and excellent value for your tax dollars. Over the balance of this term of council, Tim's focus will be on achieving council's strategic priorities as approved in our 2018 to 2022 Vision to Focus work plan. So that was a whirlwind overview of 2020, what's ahead in 2021. We have 4 key priority areas. We'll continue to support an effective vaccine rollout so that all residents of Burlington who want to get a vaccine will be able to do so this fall, supporting a broad reopening of our economy and a healthier new normal. We at the city, our role in this is to provide facilities and logistics, staffing and support. And we already have a COVID task force internally working with the region to that end. Second, we will stay focused on our city's bottom line, finishing the 2021 budget in coming weeks and looking to maintain an overall tax increase of 2.5% or less. And in the fall, we will begin our 2022 budget process. We'll do 2 budgets this year. Third, we're going to complete work on our official plan, getting growth and development where it makes sense for Burlington. And finally, we'll continue our advocacy work and partnerships with other organizations and other levels of government to ensure that the needs of our community are heard and addressed at every level through the Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus, through the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, where I sit as a member of the Large Urban Caucus, through the Halton Mayors and Chair Group that I chair every 2 weeks, through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, through the COVID-19 Task Force, through the Burlington Economic Recovery Network, our strong relationships with members of our community, and of course with our local members of parliament and members of provincial parliament. We'll continue working on issues like safe restart funding, sick pay, rent relief, rural broadband, climate change and the environment, and more. And as Canada's best city to live in and raise a family, we'll continue to be kind, resilient, persistent, and supportive of one another. That's the way that we get through this and build back even better. If the past year has shown us anything, it's how undeniably connected we all are. Though this pandemic has affected each of us in different ways, we are all in the same storm together, helping each other. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Tim.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
I wish it was in person. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of this platform.
Yeah, I'm zoomed out.
I'm zoomed out as well. We have some questions this morning from some of our members, and I'm trying to group some of the ones that are thematically similar. So I want to jump in first off. You touched a bit about this on your presentation as well. I want to jump in on the municipal taxes to start with, if that's okay. Sure. Lots of discussion around demand for services, and you touched on that in your presentation around transit, recreation, those things changing dramatically. Obviously, development fees and development applications still way up. You recently moved a motion directing staff to come back with reductions to the original projection, and the end result was a $2.4 million reduction. However, and you talked about a 2.5% tax rate, but combined with the region, it's closer to 5%. So the question is that reasonable given the climate, and what are the spending priorities?
So actually it's the reverse. So your taxes are made up of city, region, and education. So the city portion only right now is proposed at 4.9%. The staff direction that council approved that I brought forward was to get the city only portion below, well, to 3.99 or below. Once you blend that with region and education, that's what delivers the 2.5% increase. So your total tax rate, if we did nothing and kept it at 4.9, which we won't, we'll get out our pencils, would be a 2.8% increase in total once you blend it. And we're trying to get that down to 2.5 or less. So that would be the actual impact that you would see. In terms of the priorities, we have to keep services going, and we've seen the demand for services, things like building permits, everybody's home and renovating, have skyrocketed. And we have no more staff to deliver that same service, but there's been a tenfold or more increase. Of course, bylaw enforcement, we've seen a huge increase in the need for bylaw enforcement with COVID restrictions. And we've seen our ability to recover income go down. We can have fewer people on the bus to ensure social distancing. That affects our revenues. We can have fewer people in recreation programs for in-person when we were able to do that. Again, affects our revenues. And we, as I touched on earlier, have invested over $225,000 directly into businesses. So we've seen our costs go up. We've seen our demand for service go up, and so it's a difficult budget year, but we're committed to keeping the services that people count on and rely on going into 2021.
So this next question is on the same theme, and it talks about the fact that business owners who own commercial or rent commercial property are also residential taxpayers. And this question is from someone saying that the difficulty they have is if they're able to create the revenue they need to cover their expenses for their business, they may not have money left to cover expenses personally, like a mortgage, for instance. Is there relief that the city can put forward going into 2021?
So there are programs at the federal level for income supports, and so that's for personal situations like that. I would look to those programs, and information about those are available on federal websites.
So another question, the theme's the same. In 2020, Municipal Taxes had a deferral program. Is there any thought to reducing or deferring tax payments for small business?
So yeah, we did that throughout most of 2020. People could defer their tax payments until they had the ability to pay them, and there was no penalty and interest on that. That represented roughly $700,000 to the city's bottom line that we would normally collect that we didn't. At this point, we are not looking at doing that for this year, but I'm certainly, we haven't set our budgets yet, and happy to hear feedback from the community.
When will the city end its collection of the hospital levy, and how are the funds from this levy used?
That's a great question. We actually ended that in 2019. The levy was built in, and we redirected it to infrastructure. So the first year of my term as mayor, we delivered the lowest tax increase to the citizens of Burlington. And part of the reason for that is we gave back some of the levy to residents. We still have that money for infrastructure. We have a 20-year asset management plan. We still have a backlog of infrastructure that we need to cover. So that's community centers, roads, parks, everything that has wear and tear. So we still have a gap, but we're chipping away at it, and we're in a good position to close that gap and keep our infrastructure in a state of good repair in the city.
I'm going to stop this for a second just to say, ask you a question that I'm wondering about. For everybody that was elected prior to the pandemic, you've come into a situation nobody could have bargained for. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm healthy. My family's healthy, and we're coming together to see how we can help people who are struggling more than we are. You've had the pressure, obviously, of the pandemic, and you talked about COVIDiots during your presentation. Certainly, I'm seeing a lot of, especially the online discourse is terrible. You put out something last week about shutting down some of that, not critical discussion, but certainly negative discussion
on some of your social media.
Yeah, it's a small but growing problem on social media where, people will say things from behind the anonymity of a keyboard that they wouldn't say in a public meeting or to your face. So I've had commenting guidelines on my social feed since 2016, and we've updated and reissued those. Words matter. Mm-hmm. Words hurt. And so we want people to find a way, if something's important to you, invest the time to create a civil, well thought out, researched argument. There's no need for personal attacks. It doesn't actually advance any kind of argument. Name calling never wins the day. And if you take the time and the discipline to mount a decent argument, you may find that you persuade people. So, I continue to encourage people to be civil, respectful, kind, and I'm pleased to say that the vast majority of Burlington residents are that. I am so grateful for the notes that people send me privately, to just little notes of encouragement. We do get the other, and I know it's because people are fatigued, people are tired, people are frustrated, have lost jobs, have lost the opportunity to gather for significant moments, to mourn together where that's called for, and so I get it, I understand it, and please check out our COVID-19 page on the City of Burlington. We have supports for mental health, for social services. It's all listed there. And if you can help, there's organizations that will tell you what they need. So please reach out. Help is available. And I know it's been a long haul. It's a marathon, and we've still got another, year of this strange dealing with the pandemic.
Yeah, it seems endless. What are the key industry sectors where the city would like to grow?
Well, we're certainly looking at education with Brock. That gives us an awful lot of leverage with that. We're going to build on the technology industries that we have here. We have quite a significant manufacturing base here in Burlington, and we've seen some of our industries pivot during COVID to provide supplies, to provide hand sanitizer. We have a diversified economy, but we have more manufacturing digital than you would think, and now moving into the artificial intelligence world. So it's great to see that. Keep it up.
What are the city's environmental priorities for the year ahead?
Well, we want to continue to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in all of our city facilities, and also encourage our community to find ways to reduce their own environmental impact. So 90% of greenhouse gas emissions are caused by the private sector. That's you folks and industry. Only 10% of it is directly attributable to city operations. So we're going to do our best. We have a new Skyway Arena that is planned to be net zero. It's one of the first of its kind in the city. We'll continue to look for those opportunities, but we need your help. We need the community to come together. So we're providing things like electric vehicle chargers at our city facilities to encourage and promote people to, if you have a car, to consider converting to a hybrid or a fully electric. A number of city council members drive either a hybrid or an electric. So those are just some of the things. We're looking at a whole new parks. We've got a tree bylaw. We know trees are a critical source of natural infrastructure. So we work with people to try and avoid trees coming down. And we've been able to do that throughout this past year after the bylaw went into effect. Those are just some of the things. How
has the tree bylaw been received? Is it going over okay?
Well, there's been, because people are home and renovating, there's been a huge call for our services. So we're going to address that in our budget coming up. But what's been great is that having the bylaw and having the requirement for a permit, you can take a tree down if it's diseased, damaged, or a threat without fee or penalty, and we make that happen quickly. But for folks who are perhaps, expanding a deck or doing a renovation and want to take a tree down, they need to come and talk to us. And we've been able to work with people at the city to perhaps modify their plans in order to save that tree. And people have been really happy about that service. So there are times when trees have to come down. That has happened as well. And so we collect a fee for that so that we can plant trees on private property to replace what's come down, to make sure that we don't fall behind in our tree canopy. Or homeowners have the option to replant trees on their own property as well.
About this time last year, you and I had a conversation about the red carpet task force. Can you tell us the status about that? And the follow-up question to that is, has the city reimagined how it services businesses within the context of COVID?
Well, I'll say it was a back burner, semi-back burner, nice to have, porting everything to a digital environment. It became front burner, and we did it. And there's still more to come on that front. So making it easier for people to put in your permits virtually. It also makes it easier for us at the city to share that information with the public on those applications that are a matter of public record. So that's just been one area of digital transformation that we've been able to achieve a lot sooner than we expected. There are 22 recommendations. You can check out the Red Tape Red Carpet Task Force page on the website and see exactly where each of those are at, but we are moving forward with all of them.
You talked in your presentation about some of the city's outreach to diverse communities, and this question is specifically about that. Has the city adopted any diversity or inclusivity policy with respect to its hiring practices?
Yes, we do, and we're actually, in last year's budget, hired a consultant to have us review all of our city operations to see how we're doing and what we can do better. So stay tuned for the results of that.
The City of Burlington's 2018-22 plan from vision to focus prioritizes key strategic directions from our long-term 25-year strategic plan. How are we doing with that? Are we on target? Obviously, with a year of dealing with COVID, as you said, there's front burner and back burners. So what's the status on that?
So yeah, the digital one is one of the ones that jumped earlier up, and I think we all support that. We're making actually great progress on all of the initiatives that are in the Vision to Focus. Again, you can see all of that online if there's a particular area of interest where we are. Some of it's completed, some of it's in progress, some has yet to be started, and that's a constant work in progress in terms of as new realities come our way, some of those priorities shift a little. So like I said, digital became top of mind, but we are committed to ensuring that the business of the city continues. And for many of our staff, and certainly for council, the last year has been like having two full-time jobs. One was managing a pandemic and keep people safe, and the other was continuing the business and the services of the city that the community relies on. And for some of our folks who have kids at home, add a third hat, that's teacher. So it's been quite a ride.
I bet. It's interesting to me, as someone who watches politics pretty closely, to see the level of cooperation between the levels of government. Can you talk about that? That's been quite an experience, I think, for all levels of government.
I think everyone in elected office throughout the country realized that this is no time for partisanship, for party politics. This is no time to be openly critical of each other, rather to work together if there are issues and resolve them and move forward. And what we've seen throughout the country is a commitment to putting the needs of our community first, above any party politics, any partisanship, any level of government. So we have worked extremely closely with our local MPs and MPPs. I'm so grateful to each of them for doing everything they can to advocate for us at other levels of government, and for always being a phone call or a text away from me or my staff. We are almost on speed dial with some of our local MPs and MPPs to make sure that we're constantly keeping each other up to date. And those relationships that we've built will last beyond the pandemic, and that's one of the nice things about all of this. We've forged much stronger partnerships, and I don't see it going back to some previous state. It shouldn't. Community expects us to work together, and we are.
I hope you're right on that. That would be a nice outcome of the pandemic for sure. One of the things I have very little patience for hearing people complain about or critique decisions that have been made by various levels of government using the best information they had of the day. And clearly, as we've gone through the pandemic, our understanding of it, our level of education has grown, and so some decisions have been changed. But can you look back over the year and talk about any lessons learned where you think, you know what, that's something we can now apply going forward, whether it's in the pandemic or perhaps even on the outside of the pandemic?
Well, I think that the key always is to allow yourself to change your mind, change your decisions, say that didn't work and let's try something else in light of new information, that there's no penalty, there's no disgrace in not having perfect information all of the time and having to change your mind. And I think one of the best examples as a country and as a community is the mask bylaw. You know, early in the pandemic, all of the health experts, the various levels of government were saying, you know, don't know that the evidence supports the need for that. And then it changed very quickly. And when it changed, this council brought in a mask bylaw, and I want to give special thanks to my colleague, Councillor Shauna Stolte, for moving that forward. So, you know, that's just one example. Another example is what we've seen recently during the shutdown. We were looking at public health indicators at a public health unit level, and that's our Halton region. But now we know we need to look at public health indicators at hospital capacity across an entire sort of GTHA region. And so that shifted, even though our numbers are looking really good in Halton. Thank you, Burlington, only 11 active cases, new active cases yesterday. The numbers are going exactly in the right direction. Our active cases across the region are coming down. That's because of you, and I want to thank you. At the same time, the hotspots, we're all starting to come down, but we're not yet at the level where we can take our pedal off the gas because our hospital capacity is at risk, and we don't want to create a health pandemic, another health pandemic, with people not being able to get surgeries that they need because the hospitals are overwhelmed. So we know now we need to look at a region-wide health lens, and that's a shift. So I'm getting used to saying, well, we're going to change it, and not that something was wrong. It's what we did based on what we knew, and it was right for the time. And you have to be willing to change your mind and change your approach as you get new information, and pivot, just like businesses have to, just like residents have to.
Yep, good. That's exactly what I was thinking you would say, because I've been frustrated. You still hear people saying, you know, a year ago they said we didn't have to wear a mask, so for sure. Okay, it's time for the rapid fire. I know this is probably your least favorite point of the morning.
I love this part.
You do? Okay, good. Well, there's 20 questions, and apparently you're supposed to do this in 2 minutes, so your answers have to be fairly short. Post-COVID, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Netherlands, to celebrate or honor the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Holland by Canadian troops.
That's an awesome answer. What is your dream job?
This one.
If you could trade lives with anyone for a day, who would it be and why?
I wouldn't trade lives. I love what I'm doing. That's the truth.
Where would you go if you were invisible?
To cabinet meetings at other levels of government. That's a very nerdy answer, but that's true.
Complete this sentence. When I dance, I look like...
J-Lo. No, I'm just kidding. I'd like to look like
sure. What is your favorite TV channel?
Netflix. Is that a channel?
No, it's funny because I would have penciled in here your TV, but I
put your TV.
How about that second? What is the thing that you are most afraid of?
People getting sick in the community.
I know you have a particular interest in the politics south of us. If you could ask President Biden one thing, what would it be? When are you going to provide universal health care in your country and proper social safety net? If you were stranded on a tropical island, what two things would you want with you? Music and my family. I'm so glad you didn't say your phone. Use one word to describe your computer ability.
Advanced.
If you could teach any grade or subject, what would it be?
Grade 10 civics.
What have you done that you are most proud of?
Being the mayor. I love what we're doing together as a council and as a community.
What advice did you get that was the most rewarding?
Early in this pandemic, make decisions fast, move forward, change if you have to, and don't look back.
What is one food you wouldn't want to give up?
Oysters.
If you had access to a time machine, where would you go and when? Where and when would you go?
I'd go back a year ago to figure out how we could do this better, this whole pandemic thing better and sooner, and get out of it sooner.
Are you a morning or a night person?
I'm a night owl, but I have found myself getting up at 6 in the morning throughout the pandemic or earlier.
What annoys you?
Rudeness, unkindness.
If I answered that, I would have said morning persons. What are you afraid of?
Well, you could tell my voice wasn't up this morning, but the rest of me was awake. My voice took a little while longer. Sorry, what was that?
Well, you should have heard the grumbling in this TV studio. TV people don't like mornings, so there was a lot of that this morning. What are you afraid of?
A continued lockdown, a spike in our COVID numbers, and especially with the new variant and more deaths, that keeps me up.
What was the last time you laughed very hard out loud?
Just a couple of seconds ago.
Well, I'm glad I was here for that.
I laugh a lot. I have to. I cry too when I need to.
Two things that you would change about yourself.
I'd spend more time with my family and carve out more personal time.
Excellent. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you. That was
good seeing you again.
Good. Great to see you, Tim.
Thanks, Marianne.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mayor Mead Ward and everyone this morning. My name is Lena DeMarco, and I'm the Regional Director of Bell Community Affairs. And on behalf of Bell, it is a pleasure to join you this morning to sponsor this virtual Mayor's Breakfast event. Today, in what is becoming a familiar format, rather than have the actual live in person, we have been treated to an enlightening virtual event to hear the plans and priorities of the city of Burlington from Mayor Mead Ward. And there were truly some inspiring stories. Mayor Mead Ward, your remarks have provided us with a positive outlook of what has been achieved and where you would like to see the city of Burlington moving forward in these challenging times in 2021. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank the Burlington Chamber for their ongoing work with Bell. We are proud to support the Burlington Chamber of Commerce as they work hard every day to ensure you have the right environment to build your businesses. And also with this platform, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank you, all of you who participated on Bell Let's Talk on January the 28th. Canadians and people around the world took the biggest mental health conversation to new heights. Millions of messages of support of mental health were spoken, texted, tweeted, and written. We saw some truly inspiring messages on social media. Once again, thank you all to all who participated. We know that talking about mental health isn't a cure, but it is making a difference. Again, thank you, Mayor Mead Ward, for so generously sharing your thoughts with us today. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you, Lena, and thank you everyone for joining us today, and a very special thanks to our mayor. We truly value our working relationship with the mayor, with council, and with city administration, and we look forward to continuing our partnership in the years ahead. I want to thank everyone for being with us today, as well as our very, very generous sponsors, Cogeco, Bell Canada, CN Rail, the Realtors Association of Hamilton Burlington, TD Canada Trust, Imperial, Burlington Hydro, and of course, our highly valued media partner, Your TV, who is recording today's events. And Your TV will be able to publish this event. You'll be able to watch it on video on demand on Your TV in the coming days. So we hope to see you all again at some of the Chamber's upcoming events. I encourage you to check out the events section of our Chamber website for more information about those future events, including our second annual Wonder Women 2.0 Leadership Conference on March 11th, which has just been announced. Thank you all again for attending today. Please stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.